I thought I could trust her. But that night, everything changed, and I never saw the truth coming. Michelle's mind raced as she drove, her hands trembling against the steering wheel. The confrontation had left her reeling, but she knew she had to face it head-on. She pulled into the park, her breath shallow. Adam's words echoed in her ears, and her mother's cold dismissal of her pain still stung like an open wound. Her heart beat faster as she spotted John sitting under one of the old oak trees, waiting for her. The easygoing smile that usually greeted her was gone, replaced by something deeper, a quiet concern that made her feel like she wasn't alone for the first time in days. She parked, took a deep breath, and got out of the car. As she approached him, her legs felt unsteady, like they might give out. When John stood up and smiled softly, his voice gentle as he spoke, "You okay?" She shook her head, unable to stop the tears that welled up again. Sitting down on the bench beside him, she felt a tidal wave of emotion crash over her. The weight of everything she had just gone through was unbearable, but she needed to talk. "Adam," she began, her voice trembling. "He offered me money. $200,000, like I could just forget what happened." The words spilled out like a flood, raw and desperate. As she recounted the conversation, the anger began to mix with the relief, like a fire burning away everything she had kept inside. When she finished, she looked up, half expecting John to give her the same doubtful look her mother had. Instead, his face was filled with a quiet rage, not at her, but at the situation. "I believe you," he said, his voice steady, unwavering. The simple words pierced through her like a balm to a wound. She felt the tension release from her chest, though the tears still flowed. But this time it wasn't from despair. It was relief. For the first time, someone believed her. The moment felt fragile, and yet, as they sat there, a quiet understanding passed between them. She needed more, though. She needed to make sure Adam paid for what he had done, and for everything her mother had allowed him to do. 2 days passed, and the emotional toll of Adam's betrayal weighed heavier with every hour. Michelle's stomach churned as she thought about how easily he had dismissed her, twisted her words. But more than that, it was her mother's blind defense of him that had cut the deepest. As the days blurred together in a haze of anger and sleepless nights, an idea began to form. She couldn't let him get away with this. Not this time. One night, as she lay awake staring at the ceiling, the answer came to her. Her phone, always by her side, always within reach, was her weapon. It was simple, but it was the only thing she could trust. She could record him. She could get him to admit it, or at the very least, hint at it. Her pulse quickened as the plan took shape. She would make Adam think she was reconsidering everything, play along, make him feel like he was winning. Her stomach turned at the thought of what she'd have to do. But this was the only way to get the proof she needed. The plan was set in motion. That evening, Michelle dialed Adam's number, her heart pounding as the phone rang. He picked up on the second ring, his voice smooth, eager. "Michelle, I was hoping to hear from you." "Yeah," she replied, her voice sounding hesitant but controlled. "I've been thinking, maybe we should meet, talk this through." Her stomach twisted as she said the words, but she kept her composure. This was her chance. "Where?" Adam's voice had that familiar, smug tone. "I'm glad you're being reasonable about this." "There's a park nearby," she suggested, though her stomach churned at the thought of the location. "Quiet. We won't be interrupted." Adam agreed immediately, and she hung up. Michelle's fingers trembled as she opened the voice recorder on her phone and rehearsed her lines. This was it. There was no turning back now. When she arrived at the park, her eyes locked on Adam as he approached. She discreetly started the recording app, making sure her phone was hidden in her jacket pocket. As he sat down beside her, the tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Her nerves were on edge, but she kept her voice steady, pretending to be unsure. "Adam," she began, her voice soft. I've been thinking about everything. Maybe I misunderstood." She forced a small, nervous laugh to make it believable. He smiled, his usual arrogant smile. "I knew you'd come around, Sometimes emotions get the better of us. Michelle took a deep breath, playing her part. Yeah, I probably overreacted. But… She paused, her voice trembling slightly. What did you mean about the money? $200,000. Adam shifted, leaning forward slightly. I thought you'd see the opportunity for what it was. You're a smart, beautiful woman, Michelle. I thought maybe we had an understanding. Her stomach churned, but she pressed on. What exactly did you mean by that? He laughed lightly, but there was a dark edge to his voice. It's simple. Michelle, you're struggling. I'm just offering a way out. Something that could help both of us. Her hands clenched into fists, but she kept her voice steady. Help both of us? You're offering me money, but… Her voice faltered slightly. What do you expect from me? Adam's expression was smug, his voice calm as he leaned back. Let's not play games. You know exactly what I meant. It's not like anyone else has to know. Just you, me, and this opportunity I'm offering. Michelle took a slow breath, her mind racing. She glanced at him one last time. Thanks for clearing that up. I needed to hear it from you. The recording app was still running, and every disgusting word was now saved, a concrete proof of his manipulation. 2 days later, Michelle dialed Adam's number again, her stomach twisting in knots. When he picked up, she tried to sound calm but rushed. I've had time to think. I'm ready to talk more, but I'd like to meet somewhere private. Somewhere out of the way. Of course, he said eagerly. Where? The Grand Regent, Michelle said, her mind made up. Let's meet in the lobby around 8 tonight. Michelle's heart raced as she and her mother drove to the hotel. The tension between them was palpable, her mother's cold silence a stark contrast to the burning frustration inside Michelle, but this was the only way. When they arrived at the Grand Regent, Michelle led her mother through the luxurious lobby and toward the elevator. As they ascended to the 7th floor, the air felt heavy, charged with anticipation. Michelle's hands trembled as she inserted the key card into the door, the lock clicking open. Inside, Adam stood, looking too comfortable, his smug smile faltering as he saw Michelle's mother behind her. His expression shifted instantly, panic creeping into his eyes as he stood up from the chair. What's going on? He demanded, trying to regain control. Michelle stepped inside, holding up her phone. It's time to clear up the misunderstanding, Adam. She pressed play, and his voice filled the room. Every disgusting word, every vile attempt at manipulation was now out in the open for her mother to hear. Her mother froze, her face draining of color as the recording continued. When it finished, Michelle turned to her, her voice steady but full of emotion. Now tell me, Mom, am I still the liar here? Adam stammered, his face red with panic. You can't believe this. She's lying. But her mother was silent, her eyes locked on Michelle. Is this real? She whispered, her voice cracking. Michelle didn't answer. She didn't need to. A week later, Adam was gone. Michelle's mother filed for divorce, and Michelle finally felt like she had won, like she had her life back. Slowly, her relationship with her mother began to heal. They started talking again, working through the years of hurt. And for the first time in a long time, Michelle felt like her mother truly saw her. I never expected my life to change that night. But now, with John by my side and a family built on trust, I know I'm stronger than ever. Sometimes the truth is the only weapon you need. When the dust settles, you realize the battle was never just about revenge. It was about reclaiming what's yours, your dignity, your trust, and your future. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind for Michelle. The phone calls from her attorney, her mother's guilt-ridden apologies, and the press surrounding Adam's departure had left her drained. But amidst the chaos, there was something else. Something she hadn't expected. A feeling of relief. Of closure. For the first time in years, she felt free. John had been by her side through it all, helping her navigate the emotional aftermath. His quiet strength gave her the courage to make decisions she had been avoiding for too long. Together, they had gone through the difficult task of sorting out the legal battles, from property division to the custody of their dog, Gus. Adam had never stood a chance in court, but it wasn't just the legal victories that brought Michelle peace. It was the way John made her feel. Safe. Seen. It wasn't the superficial kind of comfort that came from a new relationship. It was something deeper. He respected her. He understood her in ways that no one else had. And that meant everything. One evening, as they sat on the porch of her new apartment, the city lights twinkling below them, Michelle felt a shift inside her. The emotional storm that had once consumed her had finally begun to quiet. The bitter anger had given way to something softer, something hopeful. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was living again. John turned to her with a thoughtful look in his eyes. "How are you really doing, Michelle?" he asked, his voice warm but sincere. She exhaled slowly, her gaze on the horizon. "It feels like I've come out the other side of something huge, but I know it's not over. There's still a long road ahead. But now I feel like I can walk it." John smiled softly, reaching for her hand. "You've been through so much, but I think you found something even more important through all of this." Michelle raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "Yourself," he said, his voice calm and steady. "You've reclaimed who you are, and that's more than anyone can take from you." His words settled deep inside her, resonating like a quiet truth. She had done more than just fight for her freedom. She had fought to remember who she was before the chaos, before the manipulation. And now she was starting to rebuild piece by piece. But just as she was about to respond, her phone buzzed in her pocket, pulling her out of the moment. She hesitated before checking the message. It was from her lawyer. Her heart skipped a beat as she read the text. "We've just received some news. Adam is planning to challenge the divorce settlement." Her chest tightened. Even after everything, he wasn't finished. John could see the shift in her expression and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Hey," he said softly. "We'll deal with this. Together." Michelle nodded, but the old fire flickered in her chest. She wasn't about to let Adam back into her life, not in any way that mattered. Not after everything he had put her through. No, she said, a determined edge creeping into her voice. But this time he's not going to get away with it. Not anymore. As they sat there in the fading light, Michelle knew that while her journey had been painful, it was far from over. The final battle with Adam might still be ahead, but she had something he could never take from her. Strength, self-respect, and the unwavering conviction that she would never let herself be silenced again. Revenge doesn't always end with a single victory. Sometimes it's the quiet moments that truly define the battle. And when the world tries to tear you down, the best way to fight back is to keep moving forward, stronger, smarter, and ready for anything.